Hi everyone, welcome to Bab Fashion's YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful pencil skirt with front slit and overlay. This is the overlay of the skirt, and this is what it looks like at the back. You can see that I have my zipper at the back without a slit, and I also have my waistband. In this video, we're going to be learning how to fix our waistband to achieve that nice balanced look on the waistline. Can you see what the band looks like? This is how the front looks like, and you can see the back is longer than the front. I hope this is what you're interested in learning. Kindly stay tuned while we get right into the tutorial. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please kindly hit on the subscribe button to subscribe. And subscription is very free. You're not paying nothing for subscription. Please ensure to subscribe. Thank you. So here is the Ankara fabric we'll be using to draft this skirt. First, you need to put into consideration the amount of fabric you'll be folding on the table to achieve your skirt. And in this case, you're going to be using the biggest measurement, which is the hip, to determine the amount of fabric to fold. Here the hip is 41 inches. 41 divided by 4, that will give us 10 and quarter. So plus my sewing allowance of 2 inches, and also the slit allowance that we're going to have in front, which is 2.5. So that's the amount of fabric I folded. So the one on top right now is the front piece, while the back piece is underneath. So here now, I'm going ahead to mark the waistline. The waistline is the starting point. So from waist to hip is 9 inches. From waist to knee is 22 inches. And then to the full length of the skirt, the full length of the skirt is 39 inches plus my hemming allowance of 2 inches. So that will give me 41 inches. So that's that. So you will notice that I have a line here. This is for my slit. I want to have that kind of overlapping slit in front. Can you see? So, and here I have 2.5 inches because I want the slit to overlap, just like I showed us at the beginning of this video for the skirt. So all the measurements I'll be marking will be starting from here. So basically, this is now going to be my center front. So here now, I'll enter quarter of her waist measurement on the waistline. Quarter of her waist measurement is 8 and quarter. I'll enter 1 inch for that, and then 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So once I have that, then I'll come here to the hip line. I'll enter quarter of her hip measurement, which is 10 and quarter, plus 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So then on the knee, whatever I have here, I'll be subtracting 1.5 from it to enter it on the knee. So the hip determines what will be on the knee. So here I have 12 and quarter inch. So 12 and quarter minus 1.5, that will leave me with 11, and it will leave me with 10 and 3/4. Sorry. So that will leave me with 10 and 3/4. So 10 and 3/4 here. So I'll bring the same 10 and 3/4 down to the hemline here. So I'll just bring in my straight ruler and connect it like this. You see? So now I have the front piece of my skirt. So now just go ahead and fold this over like this. Can you see that I have my back? For the back, I just need my zip allowance for the back. Remember that the slit is here in front. So basically the back will look like the front. So I'm just going to fold over these 2.5 inches so that I can easily transfer my markings. So can you see what I'm doing? I'm just straightening out my lines because the back will have a little bit of an alteration so that it can have that nice fit at the back. So now Having done this, I'm going to come here now at the back. This is our hip line, this is the waistline. So on this part here that I have the waistline, remember I used 2.5, so this is way more than my zip allowance. So regular on a normal day, I use 1.5 inch zip allowance. So here on the waist, I'm going to be marking 1 inch. Remember I said I use 1.5 inch zip allowance, then I have to take out half inch for my zipper bulge. So right now I'm just going ahead to mark my 1 inch here. That's it. Assume that I've removed the zipper bulge of half inch. Okay. So I haven't marked 1 inch here. On the hip line here, I'll enter 1.5. I hope it's making sense now. Here is 1 inch, here is 1.5. And then on the knee line here, I'm going to mark half inch on the knee line. And then I'll bring the same half inch to the hemline here. So I'll just go ahead and use my straight ruler to connect it like this. And then I'll connect it like this and then like this. So you can see that the back is not straight. So you can see this nice shape that looks like there's a hip there. Of course, it's because of our butt. So let me repeat myself. 1 inch here, 1.5 here, half inch here, and half inch here. So now remember that I have half inch here. So by the time I turn my lining, I stitch my lining to the fabric, this half inch will be gone. So that means I don't have a zip allowance that goes all the way straight at the back. Remember I said I'll be having my zip allowance here. So this 1 inch, remember I said my zip allowance is 1.5. So that half inch that I have here, by the time I turn my lining with it, is gone. So I'll be returning back the 1 inch I removed from my 1.5 inches zip allowance. I hope you understand. So now I'll bring that 1 inch here at this point, and then I'll bring that same 1 inch here to the hemline. So I'll just go ahead and connect it like this, and then I'll finish it up at the hip line. So you can see I'm zeroizing at the hip line, not adding anything to my hip line. So it's that simple. So this is it. So now I'll just go ahead and cut out the center back to indicate this is where my zip allowance is, my 1.5 inches zip allowance. Can you see? So this is now our center back. So remember that we have two markings here. We added 1 inch here, which is for the back. So this is now our back marking, and this, the inner one, is the front marking. So first I'll just go ahead and cut for the back first. So can you see? So now we have our back underneath, and this is our front piece. So now I'll just go ahead and cut out this selvage here. So I'm cutting straight, and I have my selvage. So next I'll just raise it up and notch the zip allowance. You can see that the one under is our back. So here I just notched my zip allowance so that you don't interchange them. So now we are done with the back. I can keep it aside, and then we'll bring out our proper front. So can you see that my front still has the slit allowance of the 2.5 inches that I added? So I'll come here now and cut out this extra 1 inch that does not belong to the front. So can you see? So now we have our actual front. So let's bring in the back so that we can see what we have now. So once I fold my slit allowance like this inwards, can you see that this is now my zip allowance of 1.5 inches? So of course, by the time we sew, this is what's going to. So you can see how our zip allowance of 1.5 inches is appearing at the back here. So we'll keep the back now. So for the front, we're going to have our sloper, our waist sloper. So at this point here, this center front here, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So from the center front, remember this is my center front line here, I'll come down by 1 inch. So I'll mark where our, you remember I added 2 inches sewing allowance plus 1 inch for that. So I'll just come here and mark this point. So that's 3 inches. So I'll bring in my curved ruler and just curve it like this. Can you see? So to do that now, I'll have to fold this over because remember that this is my slit allowance. It will overlap on top of it. So you want to follow this shape and cut it out. But before I do that, I'll go ahead and mark my dart. This is where my dart is going to be. A nipple to nipple is 8 inches, half of it is 4. So here is our nipple to nipple point here. I'll come down, I'll come down by 5.5, which is the dart length in front. And then I'll also mark the same 4 inches to achieve a straight line. So once I have that point there, I'll mark half inch to the left and half inch to the right. And then I'll use my ruler to connect it. So you can see that I have my darts now. So to make sure that the curve, that the slope I'm cutting here is correct, so I'll just close my dart like I've sewn it. So can you see that this point has shifted upward? That's this side has shifted upward because you can see that this is a slope. So that is why I had to do this, so that you don't have any shortage at any point. So I'm just going to blend up my line like this. You see that? And then I'll go ahead and cut it out. You see? So can you see that this point is not straight? You see my dart? So by the time we sew them together, this part that would have been shorter will actually be equal to the other side. So now go ahead and notch this point to indicate that this is where our dart will be. So I'll also bring in the back piece like this. I'll place it also. Remember that we entered our dart also. So I'll place it also like this. So and notch where the dart is. So you can see I'm making sure that they are aligning at the side. So you see my zip allowance showing up there. So I'll just notch this point also. So to indicate that this is where the dart for the back also will be. Okay. So now we have done this. So now to cut the fabric that will overlap on top of the front part. So I want that fabric to be from one dart to the other. And here we have a distance of 4 inches. So remember that this 4 inches is on fold, so that will be 8 inches. So that fabric is going to be 8 inches wide. Of course, I need half inch for my sewing allowance on both sides. So that's going to be 9 inches wide. And then the length will also be the same length as my skirt. So I'm just going to take the measurement I have here. In total, what I have here is, remember I removed our waist sloper, so this has reduced. So I have about 39.5. So I'm going to cut a fabric long as 39.5 with the width of 9 inches. So I'll cut it out and show us. So I've cut the fabric we'll be using for our overlay, which is 9 inches. I cut it on fold. This will serve as both lining and fabric. This is because it's going to be on top. I don't want lining to be under, so that when she's walking, it's not the lining. Remember that that front will be opening when she's walking. So I don't want lining to show under there. So that's why I cut it on fold. You see? So what I'll be doing now, and I'm going to stitch the side where it's opened. Can you see? It's on fold, so I'm going to stitch the side there on half inch all the way from top to bottom. And then I also have my front piece. I've cut my lining also. I made my lining 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. So this is for the front. I made it 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine also and sew it round. That's turned around and lining around and bring it out from the waistline. I'm going to repeat the same thing for the back pieces. I've also cut the linings and I'll sew my darts and bring them back and show us. So I've gone ahead to sew my linings. I've turned the sides. This is our back piece. So you can see I've closed up the back. Remember that our slit is in front. So I closed up the back completely, and I've also fixed my zipper, and I've sewn my darts. Can you see? So this is what it looks like on the right side of the back piece. So now we'll keep this aside, and then I'll show us the front. So for the front here, I also went ahead to sew my linings, and I've also sewn my darts. Can you see? I've turned the sides, everything is looking all neat. So I went ahead to join the front together. Remember, I left a slit allowance of 2.5 inches. So, and I've already used half inch to turn my lining. So what I'm left with here is 2 inches. So I came up from the hemming allowance, that's from the hem here. I came up by 20 inches, which is going to be the length of the sleeve. I came up by 20 inches, and then I went ahead to join the front, the two pieces together. So can you see? I joined it at the center front. So you can see my slit opening. So this is how I want the slit to be. I want it to overlap on the other. So that is why I have this mark here. I'm going to be top stitching it this way so that this slit can just open like this. Can you see? So that it just opens like this. So let me show us from the right side. Can you see? When it's opening this way, can you see how this will be laying flat? So I'm just going to create a top stitch here. So for that fabric that is going to overlap on top of this center front, because this slit, you're not going to be visibly seeing this slit on top of the skirt. So here's the fabric, and you see that I've stitched them together. That's, I've sewn it to the center, and I ironed this, the where I sewed to the center. So I want this part to be hidden under. So this is now the right side of the fabric. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'll get the midpoint of this fabric by folding this way. So of course, where I ironed my seam line is exactly at the middle. So I'll make sure to align it with the middle of the skirt also, like this. So I'll place it this way so that whatever I have on the right, I'll also have the same thing on the left here. So I'm just going to place it over like this. So can you see how it is neatly covering my dart? So can you see that it is longer than the length of my skirt? So all I need to do now is to fold it this way like this, and make sure that it aligns so that it's even with the length of the skirt. Can you see? So by folding it this way, you can decide to stitch it down, or you use basting stitch so that nobody sees your stitch from outside. That will be your needle and thread. You just do a basting stitch here, or you go ahead and stitch it down. So whichever the one that works for you, you can do that. For me, I'm going to stitch it down. So here I've pressed it down, so you can see that it's aligning with the length of the skirt. It's no longer than my skirt length. So now remember I said that the slit allowance I have under is 20 inches. So I'll also come up from the hem here by the same 20 inches from the full length of the skirt here. I'll come up by 20 inches and mark it here. And then I'll come this way too and mark my 20 inches also. Can you see? So I'm going to be top stitching this fabric on top of this our skirt here like this. I'll top stitch it this way, and then I'll also top stitch it this way. So I'll use my safety pin to secure it. This is what the skirt will look like. Can you see? This will just overlap on it. So while she's working, the slit will just open while this is on top of it. So I'll do that and couple the skirt, that shape the skirt, fix my band, and come back and show us. Because for the band also, you can see I cut my band the regular way we cut our band. This is 2.5 inches on fold. Then I went ahead to slash it, and then I used my medium weight gum stick. Can see I've stitched this part, the upper part of the band. I sewed it on half inch, and then I went ahead to fold in half inch and half inch on this side. So as it is now, I pressed it unfold like this, so I have a length of 1.5. So I'm just going to couple this skirt and then fix my band and come back and show us. So I've sewn the sides of my skirt, I've coupled the skirt, I've shaped it to my client's measurement. This is the back and then this is the front. I've equally fixed my band. So let me show us what it looks like in front. We have in front, can you see? So this is our overlap. Can you see how it just overlaps on top of it? And you can see a slit opening. So the slit just open and then with this overlap on top of it. So this is the back. The back does not have a slit. Of course, our slit is in front. Can you see? Can you see how nice the skirt came out? And then I also can see my band. Can you see, because of the waist slope, can you see how the waist just curves nicely at the center? So you can see the back band, the back side of the band, and you can see where the front is. So this just has a way of taking out all the excess that you have around the hip area. So the skirt, the band is well balanced. And I've also fixed my hook and eye. Can you see? I fixed my hook and eye and everything came out all neat. So I'm making a lovely peplum top for this blouse. If you would like to see the video of the peplum top we'll be combining with this blouse, make sure to subscribe and put on your notification bell so that you get notified once I post this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.